And we're live. Hey, welcome back to the Unbridled Living in Costa Rica podcast. Hey, got a great one for you today. I think you're going to find it quite interesting as we talk about, well, the real reasons people move to Costa Rica. And you know what I think is more interesting is the reasons they stay in Costa Rica, because a lot of people end up leaving. I'm talking about just in the first year, second year. Most of the time, if you can make it through about 5 years, well, you're more apt to stay. But there are challenges. But today we're going to be talking about some pretty amazing reasons as to why people come and stay in Costa Rica. So, hey, if this is your first time here, well, I'm Alan, my wonderful co-host Rebecca, and we've been living in Costa Rica since November 2013. Hey, so believe it or not, it was Rebecca's idea for us to come here. So she drugged me down here kicking and screaming.
That's not true.
So anyway, and we have lived all over Costa Rica, had a blast, and we've just had a great time living all over the place, seeing the different areas, and we love to just kind of share with you our experiences from our perspective. Hey, it's the only channel that's going to really give you the honest, hard truth about living in Costa Rica. The good, like today, the bad, and the ugly. So, hey, before we get started, there's been a lot happening on the off-grid homestead this week.
Yes, there has been.
Matter of fact, we kind of slept in a lot of different places this week. So,
always an adventure.
What's been happening on the off-grid homestead? Why don't we take a moment to show you so you can join us and see exactly.
We can sleep a whole lot easier now at the off-grid homestead. But before I show you the finished product, let's back up a bit. As you know, I started building the walls of the bedroom loft. This way, we're not wasting space above us while we're asleep. All that space is below us, which we can use for storage. After getting the two 4-foot walls up, I needed to weld in 2x2 braces to create the floor and then prime the metal. But that presented a problem. We didn't have a place to sleep. We had to disassemble our bed and go back to sleeping in the back of the galloper for a couple of days. However, the view from our car bedroom sure was nice through those foggy windows. While it's okay to sleep in the car, I needed to go to town for a night to get materials and inspect the house build, which meant Rebecca didn't have a car bedroom to sleep in. But no worries. She was safe and sound after I put up a tent, and doesn't she look right at home? After I made it back home, I installed the floor and we set up our new bedroom in the loft. Now we feel like we're living high on the hog in our new bedroom. But doesn't this seem like a lot of trouble to go through just to live in Costa Rica? And that brings us to what we're talking about today on the Unbridled Living in Costa Rica podcast. Why do people move to Costa Rica? I think you'll be surprised to discover the reason most people stay in Costa Rica is very different than the reason that most of them moved to Costa Rica to begin with. Here are some of the reasons why Rebecca and I love living in Costa Rica, despite the challenges we face on a regular basis. Enjoying a brisk, cool morning, watching a mountain sunrise at about 6:25, depending on what mountain you live near. Observing nature as we watch the butterflies swarming and the hummingbirds around the flowers that we planted. The monkeys in our backyard are always a pleasant surprise. The peace and tranquility of sitting in our tiny home, enjoying conversation over a cup of coffee while we enjoy the mountain views. Going for long walks, enjoying majestic mountain views as we stroll by the livestock. arriving at the river and enjoying a gorgeous waterfall. When you focus on the positives, there are a lot of reasons to live in Costa Rica. Let's discuss some of the reasons people move to Costa Rica and why they love living in Costa Rica on today's Unbridled Living in Costa Rica podcast.
Wow. And you're right, Randy. The scenery is beautiful. And every bit of that scenery you saw today was right here at the Off-Grid Homestead. Absolutely gorgeous. I think we live in one of the most beautiful places in Costa Rica. What do you think?
I agree.
You agree? Hey, look, like I said before, this is, in my honest opinion, we do this because we love sharing our experiences. We've been through a lot of, challenges, okay? And, one of the reasons that you can get the cold, hard truth right here is because we don't have a product or service to sell you. We give everything away for free. And look, there's 3 different ways that really you can get all that information. Obviously, number one, you can join us on these live podcasts. You can ask these questions. You can chat it in the chat box, and you can get your questions answered live while you're right here. But if you can't make it, you can always, you can make a phone consultation. So there's always a link in the description below. You can do a phone consultation, and that way you can contact us. But hey, we also have a private members only community. It's a whole $10 a month, right? But $10 a month, you can contact me anytime, 24/7. And get your answers to the questions that you have right away. And sometimes there's other people in that community that are answering questions, sharing their experience. So, hey, we'd love for you to join us at any of those avenues and check out all of the videos that we create and that really just give you awesome information about Costa Rica. So, hey, let's get on it. So, you know what? I bet you're probably wondering, well, why did we move to Costa Rica? Because we are talking about why do people come to Costa Rica? And, really, it was almost an accident. We didn't plan on coming to Costa Rica. Why did we come to Costa Rica?
We just wanted to. I just wanted to. I wanted to for the nature mainly, because I was tired of drinking bottled water. And
okay,
so
back up, because you got to let them know we was living in Las Vegas, where they probably got the worst water in the world.
Yeah, well, not in Las Vegas. When we say that, people think of the Strip and all that. No, we were like in a subdivision.
Right.
Yeah, in fact, we were at the base of a mountain. It was really a pretty area. But yeah, the water, because they're out in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by mountains and desert, and the water was not good. Could not drink the tap, even with the water filter. It wasn't good. So we were drinking bottled water, and I was really tired of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not on our radar until we went to the farmers market and talked to a lady from France who was married someone from the United States, and they were wanting to move to Costa Rica. And so she and I got talking, and she told me all these wonderful things about Costa Rica.
And a lot of them weren't true.
Well, they were no longer true. I think the information was outdated.
It was outdated information, which is one of the reasons you're here, to get real live updated information.
Yeah, because I went back and did a little bit of research, like just verified some of the things that she had said, as far as the green living and the water and, different things like that, with their military, their government, and what she had said, all that was still true. The cost of living was, once we got here, was off.
Yeah.
The information that she had was a little bit old. But anyway, she ended up moving here with her husband about 5 years after we were here. They only stayed for a year, and then they moved back to the United States. It wasn't what she had.
It wasn't what she had in her mind. I mean, all that research she did, she got over here. And surprisingly, one of the things that was a big problem was the bugs, the creatures, the monsters of Costa Rica, right?
Yeah,
but
she had a real bug fear, spider fear and everything. And you just, even if you spray and stuff, you can keep them away for the most part. But if you're going to try to be natural,
but you got to keep in mind, you are moving to Costa Rica. It's a lot of places you're still in the jungle like we are,
Yeah.
or you're moving into a
Well,
place where there are a lot of critters.
if you're gonna go outside of the towns, you're going to be where there's a lot of,
Right.
a lot of critters.
But so
Pretty ones too,
yeah,
not
but
just the creepy crawlies. But
we weren't planning on going to Costa Rica. It just kind of happened by chance because
yeah,
you
we
was
were
at a
looking
farmer's
at
market talking to
Tennessee.
someone.
We were looking at someplace warm, but still with a lot of mountains and nature. Florida is warm, Texas is warm, but they're not really high altitudes.
But we wanted mountains, and we didn't like the cold weather. But
Right,
keep
so
in
we're
mind,
looking at
as we talk
Arkansas
about
and
the reasons
Tennessee.
people come, we really didn't have a reason for coming. We were just thinking about moving away from Las Vegas. Just so happened we talked about Costa Rica. But there were so many challenges coming to Costa Rica. There was many times that I thought, I don't know if I want to stay in Costa Rica. And so the reason that we stayed in Costa Rica far outweighs any reason that we were coming to Costa Rica.
Any of the challenges were overridden by the beauty, but that's our lifestyle. That's what we like. We're entertained by nature. We go for walks. We like the cool temperatures. We don't mind the rainy season. If somebody's lifestyle is different from that, for example, you have a brother who loves to go shopping, likes all the fine things
of going to bed and breakfast, going to Albertsons. He likes the convenience and the simplicity of being able to go get what he wants when he wants it, and only take him a few minutes to do so.
Yeah, so he has really refined taste. He admittedly has said, I would never move to Costa Rica.
After he's heard some of the horror stories that I've shared with him, he's like, why do you live in Costa Rica? And of course, the reason we stayed in Costa Rica is what you saw in that video. We truly enjoy nature. And if you truly enjoy nature, well, then guess what? You're going to absolutely love coming to Costa Rica, okay? Yeah. But, if you're like my brother, who has the refined taste, and if you, look, I'm a pretty patient person. I can't put up with some stupid stuff. So when I came to Costa Rica, I had a challenge. It don't make no sense to me to spend 2 hours in a bank to deposit money. That's stupid stuff. So, but you got to focus on the positive. So, hey, I'd like to hear some of your reasons. If you're in Costa Rica already, like Doug L., who's in Canada, he comes here. I think he's more of a Costa Rican snowbird, okay? He goes back and forth to Canada, and I think eventually he'll be down here. But I want to hear, what are your reasons that you're moving to Costa Rica? And why would you stay in Costa Rica? If you're not, why do you think you want to move to Costa Rica? Let's discuss some of those things, because maybe your reason to come to Costa Rica is that you're like, I want an easier life. Sorry, dude, you don't go to Costa Rica if you want to ease your life. But we talked about that on a couple of podcasts ago. Just because simple everyday task is harder doesn't mean your life can't be better.
Yeah, it's just
by living in Costa Rica.
Right. There's some conveniences that aren't readily available that we've gotten spoiled to. It's kind of perspective type thing. So it's sometimes it's a trade-off. Now, and this is what I always say, like, if you live in San Jose or the surrounding metropolitan area, everything is at your fingertips. Anything you could want is there, but the traffic is bad. But the traffic is bad in most cities. But why would you want to move to Costa Rica to live in a city? Huh?
But
there are people that want to do that because they're trying to get away from maybe dictatorship type governments, those kinds of political things that are going on. We tend to think about the United States and Canada, but there are other countries that are experiencing, like, people move from Nicaragua because of the harshness of the oppression
that people
of the
are under
government.
Because of the government, right?
Yeah,
no. But let's pause a moment and talk about San Jose, right? Because there are people that enjoy living in the city, and if they enjoy living in the city in the United States, it's going to be a breeze to live in the city in Costa Rica, right? Don't you agree?
I agree. Yeah.
And living in the city in Costa Rica, you do have lots of advantages. We don't talk a whole lot about the San Jose and the metropolitan area because I don't know how many people, and I think most people wouldn't want to come to San Jose.
But we have met some.
We have met quite a few, okay? And they love being in the city because it's nowhere near like being in the city in Los Angeles or New York. You know, it's not nearly as difficult. Excuse me. Now, like my brother, my older brother loves living in the city. Dude graduated from high school, went to Houston, loves living in the city, but he's a person that probably, you know, now that he's retired, would probably love living in San Jose because he likes living in the city, but then he could travel away and enjoy nature whenever he wants to, or go to the beach because Costa Rica is small enough you could do that. So that's one thing.
I think the cost of living could afford people the ability to travel to other countries as well, like the more affordable living. Then you could have more money left, you know, monthly to travel.
There's a lot of people who, when they retire, okay, let's face it, when you retire in the United States, trying to live in a lot of the cities in the United States, it's impossible on most people's retirement. But there's a lot of people that do come to Costa Rica because they can easily live on their retirement because you can rent cheap. You know, you can rent $300 or $400, $500 a month, where you try renting in the United States and it's costing you $1,500, $2,000 a month.
Now in the city, those prices are not going to be nice places.
Right.
You can find $300, $400, $500 out in the
You're not going to live in the city
in
for
the
that
city
price,
to live in a
but
decent
you can live on
place.
the outskirts.
Yeah, you
right.
can live on that.
So you can live. So a lot of people that are retired and drawing a check move to Costa Rica because they can live on their pension in Costa Rica. Now let's take a look at what Randy says. Randy says, "Hey, I want to move to Costa Rica because I want a new life." Well, dude, coming to Costa Rica will absolutely give you that. You will begin to experience things, learn things, enjoy things, hate things. You'll have a brand new life.
The slow pace is very, I like
Real.
it. It's real. But if you're a fast-paced person, it might be irritating to you.
It bothered me for a very, very long time because, you know, I loved being able to just, you know, I need to deposit a check or deposit something. I mean, 5 minutes at the ATM machine and I'm out. But that's, you know, that doesn't happen in Costa Rica.
You get irritated in the grocery store when the people don't walk fast enough with their carts.
Well, no. They can walk slow. Just don't be slow in front of me.
And unfortunately, a lot of the grocery stores only have like a one buggy,
you know, I mean,
aisle.
Let me go to the passing lane around your buggy. Now, I like what Jan says. Jan says, "Hey, she's looking to move to Costa Rica for the altitude. You can get it here: fresh air, clean water, simple life.
That's what we wanted.
Away from the masses." Now, once again, it may not be.
But that's a different lifestyle.
You can't, you know, she says simple life. You can't have a simple life living out here. When you go to town, things aren't so simple. A lot of bureaucratic red tape. Okay. But, you know, we have a very simple life out here, right? I mean, we're definitely in the altitude, right? We got fresh air, clean water. And, you know, Costa Rica, I think, has some of the cleanest water around if you live in the mountains. Now, if you live down by the beach, well, it's already gone through a lot of stuff. May not be as clean anymore. Okay. So you're on it, Jan. Check out what Pamela Till says. We want adventure before dementia. That's a pretty good reason.
Always so funny.
And their dentist is here. Since her teeth are starting to fall out, her dentist will help her out.
But yeah, we're living an adventure.
Yeah, and like Doug says, may not be an easier life, but you can, you know, a life of simpler things, and which I think a lot of people are beginning to realize. You know what? I remember growing up, you know, I never when I bought something, I always bought the best. Even if I wasn't going to use it a whole lot, I'd go buy it because I didn't think I should rent it. I wanted to have it so that whenever I needed, I could have it. And we ended up just accumulating too much junk. And moving to Costa Rica helped us to be able to get rid of a lot of junk, get rid of a lot of stuff we don't need, and enjoy a simpler life when we're on our homestead. And that is key. And so write this down if you're taking notes. While going to town can be very difficult, can be challenging, renting can be challenging, life begins to be like amazing when you can CYE. When you finally find your place and you can control your environment. When you can control your environment like we can control our environment here. We don't have 15 barking dogs right next to us. We don't have neighbors next to us. We can control the environment. We can truly enjoy life. And that's when things really make a humongous difference when you're coming to Costa Rica, okay? Because you still got to go to town, and it's still very difficult to go shopping, still very difficult, but you're slowing down. You're learning how to slow down. You're learning how to stop and smell the roses and just kind of enjoy life a little bit.
Yeah. It just takes more time, and it's not as convenient.
Things are a bit different. And of course, like Jan says, escaping the government is up there. And absolutely, Costa Rica.
That wasn't an issue when we moved here.
Right.
But I can see now lots of people that we talk to are like, man, what is going on? We need, so bad stuff is happening.
It is quite the difference here. And, now, that doesn't mean that the government's not trying some things, but I'm proud to say that when the government tries to do some stupid things, like here recently, they tried to kind of regulate how people farmed and how people grew stuff, and the people just wasn't going to stand for it, man. They went a massive strike, which threw it back. So in Costa Rica, you still have this freedom to do things. You can still live in Costa Rica, kind of still fly under the radar. We're up here. Of course, we're in a remote area, but really almost anywhere in Costa Rica, if you got a little piece of property, you can plant whatever you want to. You can have chickens. Look, I know there's some people living in San Jose that have chickens now.
Yeah, and that's what they were trying to do away with. They were trying to say that if you live in certain areas that you can't have, chickens and
gardens and stuff.
Yeah.
But in some places in the United States, some places in the world, matter of fact, I was reading an article, and I think it's Sweden, Switzerland, somewhere. Don't quote me on where it's at, but you could end up 6 months in jail if you have one chicken and you don't register that chicken. So, and hey, look, what's that about? It's all about controlling the people. And in Costa Rica, you can have chickens, you can have whatever you want practically. And look, right in the middle of San Isidro, I know a guy who's got a tiny yard, and he's got, I think, 1 cow, 2 goats, some chickens, and he goes and gets all the stuff he needs to feed them in his backyard.
Yeah. Now, I can understand a little bit where the government's coming from because
of something like that,
sanitation and sometimes disease. Like Costa Rica is really strict about what you can bring in because they're not only protective of the wildlife, but also of the like the plants. And there are invasive species of plants and animals that can wreak havoc on.
Yeah, so we can, you can understand, there kind of needs to be some control so that your next door neighbor who has a tiny lot doesn't have 10 cows on it, right? Who wants to smell that, right? But, we want to be able to have some things. Hey, check out what Eduardo says. He says, man, they got big gators all over Florida walking around. You don't see that in Costa Rica. But no, you don't see it in Costa Rica. But if you do go down to some rivers, do be careful because they do have some great big crocodiles in some of those rivers, and it can get dangerous. But hey, there's a lot of anything could be dangerous in Costa Rica. Driving is the worst, but hey, use a lot of common sense. And hey, check out Bob. Bob says early retirement, get off the hamster wheel. So absolutely. Right. And you can
we wanted
retire.
To be able to live for less. The way that we were working, and it was stressful. And here it's like if everything falls apart, we can still live. We'll still have clean water. We'll still have food. We still have shelter.
And here's what's, and you can retire early because it doesn't take nearly as much money to live in Costa Rica as it does in the United States. So you can have early retirement.
Well,
And
and I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Well, one of the main cost saving things to me is you don't need air conditioning or heating where we
In some places,
are.
yeah.
Down
In a
at
lot of places.
Yeah, down at the beach, you may need air conditioning depending on what you're used to. There, a lot of people down there don't have air conditioning. They get
just have good
acclimated to
ventilation.
they have fans and good ventilation. They get acclimated to it. But goodness, if you're coming from North America, Canada, whatever, you might find it very warm. But anyway, cost savings for utilities, because we were spending so much on utilities.
Right.
And here
Now,
we're good with we have a car with no air conditioning.
Yeah, I mean, that's the core thing. It's never had air conditioning. It's so old. But what's important is what Doug says right here. If you want to really enjoy life in Costa Rica, he says it helps to surround yourself with like-minded friends. Drama will follow you here if you like drama. Absolutely. Hey, you check out some of them Facebook groups where I don't know why these people are even in Costa Rica, man. I mean, you get on there and you talk about anything and the drama comes out like crazy.
I'm glad we've never run into any of those people. And see, we have Tico neighbors and Gringo neighbors, and they're of a like mind. We all value the beauty of the land, and we value peace and quiet, the tranquility. So
yeah, and I mean, it's kind of like what Jan says. She says she never uses AC. And I remember growing up, I grew up very, very poor. We didn't have air conditioning in our house, and we lived in Louisiana. It was kind of humid, but we did have a great big old huge attic fan. We had fans. But I remember building my very first house when I was 20 years old, and it was on the water, and we had central AC, but I never even turned it on because I grew up without air conditioner. And so we never did turn it on. But anyway, it's what you get used to, which is what you were saying. You get acclimated to the weather. It makes a huge, huge difference, right?
We grew up middle class, but we didn't have air conditioning until I was about, 14 years old. We had the same thing, attic fans.
Yeah.
Ceiling fans. Now,
Brian G asked a question. I'm not quite sure. He says, are there any tall girls in Jaco? LOL. I don't know what kind of girl that is. Maybe you can elaborate. But I'm willing to bet you can find him in Jaco. So anyway, there's a lot of people now, and let's go back to the reasons people come to Costa Rica. There are a lot of people that are moving to Costa Rica to escape something in their life. Okay. Now, it could be that they're escaping bills. Well, they'll probably do that because they can't follow them here. But there are some people that are escaping, and I'm not advocating that now, but there are some people that are trying to escape their life thinking if they go to Costa Rica, maybe they won't drink as much, maybe they won't have a drug problem. And, any of those issues, you need to fix those issues and resolve them before you come to Costa Rica. Because I promise you, when you come to Costa Rica, if you're looking for drugs, if you're looking for alcohol, if you have an alcohol problem, a drug problem, addiction problem, well, guess what? People are people here just like they are in America, anywhere else in the world, and those problems will be here too. So if you're looking to come to Costa Rica for that kind of reason, it's probably not going to work for you. But, what I have found out, there's a lot of people that come to Costa Rica. Hey, look, there's a lot of people coming to Costa Rica because they're trying to hide. Maybe they've got a bad past. A lot of people, maybe they just got a bad life and they coming here to reinvent the wheel for themselves and start a new life. Some people want to, like maybe Randy, want a new life, and it's not because of anything bad, but just, hey, it's time for a change. And you can definitely do that. Okay.
That's what we did. We just wanted an adventure. We wanted a change.
Yeah, I mean, we had traveled all in a lot of places in the United States, and hey, whenever you got to talking to a girl about Costa Rica, it's like, yeah. As a matter of fact, Rebecca comes back and says, "Why don't we go to Costa Rica?" And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Why?" And and then it came back to, well, why not?
Like, why not? And so we sold everything.
In less than 30 days from that conversation, We had sold everything and 10 suitcases and a dog, and we were on a plane to Costa Rica. Don't
But
suggest you do that.
no, it wasn't. It was an adventure, but it was. We had a lot of difficulties, but we had already downsized because we had moved from Louisiana, where we each had a house. You know, we had sold both houses, born full of stuff, tractor, all kinds of stuff. So we had already downsized to move to Las Vegas. And so it wasn't that hard. We had one trailer and an apartment full of stuff, but so we got rid of those things. But when we were wanting to, like, one of the main things is when I was in Louisiana, I liked to exercise. I liked to exercise outdoors. And I can remember every spring being so excited and getting, really getting going. And then summer would come and it was so hot and the mosquitoes. And then fall would come and I'd be excited again and start being serious, getting out and exercising. Then winter would come. And so it was
too cold.
Yes. And so it was this vicious cycle. Alan was able, because he's so consistent and determined, he was able to exercise throughout the seasons. But, I didn't like the heat and humidity, and I didn't like the cold. And so I had high hopes when we moved to Las Vegas. Okay, now I had no idea that they had two seasons. They had extremes, very, very hot and then very cold.
That's right.
One day we were wearing shorts. The next day we were hats and gloves.
And we could literally drive 20 minutes and be in the snow.
In the snow, yeah.
In Las Vegas, it'd be kind of warm, still shorts.
Yeah, so I thought it was going to be warm, pretty much all the time. We didn't do much research moving there because we were moving there for work. Yeah. We were flying there once a month for his work. And that we were spending way too much money. I was like, we can pay rent,
we can live there
for a lot cheaper than flying there once a month. And all the trouble we had to go through to get dog sitters and and stuff like that. And so it was a disappointment. We were there for a year and I did not like that cold.
But I mean, and which that kind of goes back, the biggest reason, one of the biggest reasons that we're still here in Costa Rica. There's a lot of reasons, but one of the biggest reasons we love that consistent temperature. It's what Doug is saying. I just want to get out of the freaking cold. Minus 50 degrees Celsius in January is ridiculous. Yeah. I agree.
I would never want to live anywhere I'd have to shovel my way through the snow to get to my car or whatever.
I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And like Eduardo says, he says over in Tibias, 90% of the time you don't need AC. But like over in Carmona, Guanacaste, you do need it, AC. So it really depends on where you're at, But hey, and I want to go back to what Karen said right here, because Karen said we was talking about those Facebook groups. She said, look, those Facebook groups have very much discouraged me from thoughts of retiring there. Karen, the best thing you could do is dump those Facebook groups, because look, there ain't nothing but a bunch of old losers on those Facebook groups. They've got nothing good to say. Stay away from them, because you really can enjoy life in Costa Rica. So here's what you want to do is it's very difficult to find honest channels that's going to give you the truth about Costa Rica. We're one of the very few. There are lots of channels in Costa Rica, lots of YouTubers that'll sell you Costa Rica. And they're trying to sell you Costa Rica, sell you Costa Rica, sell you Costa Rica. Even though they watch my channel and they're going to say, we're not selling you Costa Rica. They watch my channel, so they're going to use the exact same words I'm using in hopes that you're going to believe them. But they're trying to sell you Costa Rica so you can buy more of their product and services. So you do have to be very, very careful. Got to use your due diligence, because, unfortunately, there's people that would love to have you come to Costa Rica, convince you to come. They won't tell you the good, or they won't tell you the bad and the ugly. But that way, now I'll help you move to Costa Rica. I'll sell you this package, all of that crap. So you want to be very, very careful, and that's the reason we can give you the unbiased, unbridled truth, because I don't have anything to sell you. We give it all to you for free. But time is money. And if you want to make a phone consultation, you can. you want to join us here, join the members area, you can. And we greatly appreciate it because it's ways that you can support our channel. But anyway, stay away from the Facebook groups. Ain't never anything good to say right there. Never. I've yet to find one that had anything good to say. Anyhow.
I have seen some travel Facebook groups that are, about Costa Rica, and they post some beautiful pictures, some really, really gorgeous scenery, and a lot of people have a great time on vacation here.
Yeah. And, like Muka said, there are quite a few channels that are copying what they hear me say all the time, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So there are quite a few. But hey, that's okay. You know that you can get the good and the bad and the ugly. We've been saying it since I've started. And that's simply because we have experienced too much of the bad and the ugly.
Well, it's good to get other people's perspectives. Other people's ugly and bad might not be the same as what ours is. There are people that could care less about, playing musical chairs at the bank. It's not a big deal to them. They have the time. We don't have the time because it's irritating to us because we're still working. Yeah,
well, pause on that, because if you are retired and you're drawing a check and you don't have any hobbies, well, you know what? A lot of Costa Ricans, they don't mind going to the bank. Why? Because, hey, how's your mama?
Well, they visit.
How's your daughter?
They do.
Yeah, how's your grandfather? How's your mama? How's your and
And it used to be a whole lot more before everybody got cell phones. When we got here 10 years ago, not everybody had cell phones, but now everybody has cell phones. It's really sad. You sit in the bank, whereas everybody used to chit chat with each other. Now everybody's just on their phones. Even little kids that are with their parents are sitting on the phones. It's really sad.
Doug brings up a very good comment. Doug L right here. He says, because Doug goes back and forth. Doug and I have talked a good bit, chatted a good bit, and Doug, he lives in Canada. He goes back and forth, and he says, if we were to do it again, I'd never buy. He says, I wouldn't buy. He says, it takes you 5 minutes to buy and years to sell.
I agree. We see that all the time, unless you're willing to sell like dirt cheap.
Yeah. I mean, look, we tell people that all the time. You need to be here for a while now. And hey, look, we didn't even buy. Now I'm spending a lot of money building a house and all that. And I would have eventually bought me a piece of property. But, it's like Doug said, it just really depends. And if you're going to be here full time, maybe it's worth it. It's hard to find a place that you can rent because you can't control your environment when you rent. And, Rebecca and I, we've rented in a lot of places, and every single place we rent, we clean it up, we paint, we fix it up. And then in 1 year, the owner says, wow, that house is nice. I'm going up on the rent. I'm like, you going up on the rent? I didn't charge you to paint it. I didn't charge you to fix it up. I didn't charge you to make all these improvements. And you want to go up on the rent? I'm leaving. And that's what Ticos do. It's just not uncommon. So, hey, but I do agree with Doug. You really need to think very hard about buying. Now, if you're going to buy and you're going to stay and
it depends on your financial situation too. If you don't need to sell your place in order to get another place, that's a whole different story. You could Airbnb it, you could just use it for vacationing. But if you need to sell that place in order to go somewhere else, go back home, or go get another spot, it's hard. There's so many places for sale. I see in Uvita,
there's a lot of opportunities,
because Uvita really took off like in the last couple of years, became kind of like the place.
Right?
Yeah. And so a lot of people built these big homes because they had ocean views and everything, and they're all wanting to sell.
So let's pause for a moment. So like you said, Uvita is like the hot spot, but why? Okay. And that's what's happening.
We discovered that we didn't really care for Uvita.
It's just marketing. Look, with my marketing talents and skills, I could turn my place into the next hot spot. It's all about marketing. But there's really nothing in Uvita, and that's what's happening. It was marketed very well. So a lot of people rush into Uvita. They, like Doug said, 5 minutes to buy, and then they're like, there ain't nothing here. I gotta go 2 hours to San Isidro to buy stuff. And so now people are selling, and like Doug said, it's taken years to sell. So, but it kind of goes back to what Doug Dilio says here. When you're living in Costa Rica, you got to learn how to improvise, adapt, and overcome. And that's what Marines are taught. We were taught to adapt and overcome, Marine, because you just, that's how you're going to survive. So hey, it's just one of those things. So really important to be really thinking and doing your research before you buy.
Yeah, nothing wrong with buying, but don't buy, for sure, not sight unseen. I would never advise that, because it's incredible how you can have this gorgeous house with in the middle of a very, very rundown neighborhood.
Mhm.
And so if you're just getting pictures of that one place, and then the road in front of your house might be, if they spent money on this nice house, might be paved, and then the rest of the way into town is dirt and holes and,
Well,
bad road.
a lot of people end up moving to Costa Rica for one reason. And, like a lot of people were under the impression it was going to be cheap. Okay. And then they end up moving into a touristy area because they didn't do enough research, found out rent was like $1,500 a month. And they're like, we're leaving Costa Rica because it ain't cheap. Well, if you'd have done your research, then you'd have realized it wasn't cheap. And if you wouldn't be living in a touristy area, you could live a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So the reality is, yeah, Costa Rica can be cheap. It's really up to you.
Yeah, because if you're used to paying $3,000 a month rent, then you can find a very nice place for half of what you were paying. But like for us, coming from Louisiana, our apartment in Nevada was like $800, and it was going up to I can't remember. I think it was going up to $1,400.
Yeah. So it's important that when you do come to Costa Rica to be doing your research about where you live, because we were talking about Uvita, and like Pamela, she came to one of my retreats, and she's been following us a while, and she says, hey, she wasn't that impressed with Uvita, and she definitely wouldn't want to have to go all the way from Uvita all the way to San Isidro all the time. It's a beautiful drive, but who wants to drive 2 hours to go do your grocery shopping all the time, right?
And she's right about that road coming up from, because you go from Uvita to Dominical, and then from Dominical up to San Isidro, and that road is very curvy. Yeah. Very beautiful, fun on a motorbike, but not very fun in a car.
Right. So, and then, like Doug L says, Uvita's going crazy. Well, the Nicoya Peninsula is going crazy. Montezuma, Tambor, Santa Teresa is getting very pricey. Well, yeah, it's getting very pricey, but just like Uvita, where are you going to go shopping at? You got to go all the way to Nicoya to do any serious.
All the way to the tip.
Yeah,
I mean, you can take the ferry across, and you're not
that
a
long
far.
trip,
yeah, but
right?
you're closer to San Jose.
Yeah, so you definitely, and a lot of people make that mistake. They end up moving to these very popular places where YouTubers are selling Costa Rica, or realtors who are selling Costa Rica are telling you the place to live is Santa Teresa. Well, yeah, they're selling you Costa Rica, and it's so wonderful. Realtors are terrible about selling you Costa Rica. The obvious reasons. They want to sell you some property. So they're never going to tell you the bad about this area. Yeah, by the way, live in Uvita. Got a great place. Now you're going to have to drive 2 hours to Walmart, do any serious shopping. They're not going to tell you that. So, it's important.
Or any big store.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Now, they have had a lot of stores open there, and a few more little restaurants as, people moved in compared to when we, few years ago, but it's still not adequate to me. It's not still enough. It's like small town living for high dollar.
For high dollar, right?
So you can find some property for way cheaper than that. Mm-hmm. And
but I think we find a lot of people end up coming to Costa Rica for one reason, but then, after they get here, once they find the right place, and once they begin to realize, I think, you tell me, because I know what I think. You tell me, what do you think is the biggest reason most people end up staying in Costa Rica? What do you think they find that they enjoy, and that's the reason that they stayed in Costa Rica?
It depends on the person. For us, it's for nature.
I think the majority of the people that do stay, they've gotten to where they love nature, because there's just not a lot of stuff to do in Costa Rica. Hey, like Doug says, it's the serenity. When you come here, when they find a place that they can call home, then they do have that nature. They have that peace. They have that tranquility. Like Jan says, well, some people stay here because they enjoy the people. Mm-hmm. Well, it's true. When we went to Las Vegas, you could not get close to anybody. They were just different, you know. In Louisiana, the people were a whole lot friendlier. Muka says that some people stay because of the culture, okay? Karen says the simplicity and pura vida. You know, if you can come down here and truly enjoy the simple life, because in the United States, there's just way too many things you can do. I mean, at a moment's notice, you can go to a theater around every block. You can go to all tons of different coffee shops. You can go play putt golf if that's your thing. I mean, there's all kind of Cinemaxes with, I mean, you know, what is the crazy, the stuff, what are those Cinemaxes that you could go to and
The IMAX?
IMAX, right? I mean, it's like 4D, 3D, and it looks like the dinosaur's about to bite your head off, right?
Yeah, you can get that probably in San Jose. I haven't seen
I
one,
bet
but
you
I've
can,
seen.
you know. But
I
the,
don't know.
the entertainment is around every block in the United States. And look,
Okay,
you're
well,
not going to get that in Costa Rica
and if
for the most
somebody
part.
really likes the beach, let's face it, like in the United States, beachfront property is unaffordable in most places.
It is a lot cheaper than in the United States or anywhere else in the world.
No, I'm saying in the United States
Oh,
it's unaffordable.
I misheard
You know, but here you can still find beachfront property for, you know, reasonable prices.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's available. I think like there are some states in the United States that there's hardly any beachfront property left. And also, if you are coming here and enjoy that relaxed lifestyle, I find that most of the people are not in the rat race here. Family comes first. You know, we have literally seen people just, okay, they don't show up for work because it's somebody's birthday, or, you know, there's some event. Those things come first. The whole country shuts down when there's a holiday. Is just now having 24-hour stores and 24-hour gas stations. 10 years ago, it wasn't really like that. It was hard to, I mean, they just shut down. And the people are very, very nice. I find I have hardly ever seen people being angry. Other than when they're driving, sometimes the people, it's strange. They can be very, very nice otherwise, but when they drive and they suddenly become impatient. But not like the stories that you hear in the US. But most of the time, to me, the people are very friendly. They're nice. They're not angry. They're not frustrated. I've seen one fight, and that was over the parking to get onto the ferry. You remember that?
Yeah, there was two big old guys. It looked like two mooses.
Somebody cut the line to get on the ferry, and they had an actual fist fight. I mean,
it looked more like two bulls hitting each other, pushing one another.
But other than that, you know, but of course we don't go to the bars and, you know, to the late night stuff, because we have heard people get into fights.
Well, there's no reason, you know. I mean, so if you like the bar life, the bar scene, that's trouble's there. Now you could go enjoy. If you stay too late, you're in for trouble. You're looking for trouble if you stay too late. You know, true story. I'll keep it short. You know, I've been working in San Isidro, inspecting this house and stuff, and this one guy, I rented this little hotel room. The guy next to me tells me how he's going to the bar. He stays there, and he ends up getting beat up, robbed, and they took all his money. And as I talk to him more, I find out, well, dude, he was somewhere he shouldn't have been. 4 o'clock in the morning, he'd been there all night by himself, drinking, having a good time. He gets ready to leave. They want him to pay for their drinks, and he's not. And so they just beat him up and took his money. So, dude, number one, was in the wrong place, the wrong time. Don't use a little bit of common sense. Had he used some common sense, he wouldn't have got into that. Now, let me just back up, because you're talking about, hey, look, most everybody is very friendly. I say very friendly. They're not friendly like Louisiana people. They're not friendly like a lot of people in the United States, where everybody waves and says hello.
It's not their culture.
Right. It's a different culture, right? It's a different kind of friendly.
They don't wave.
They don't, you know, it's a different kind of friendly. They you know, but while they are, in other words, they're very social. You can talk to them and you can ask them for this, ask them for that. You can ask them for directions. Don't mean it's going to be the right directions, but
Yeah.
they're trying to be helpful, and they're going to send you on a wild goose chase because they don't want to tell you they don't know. So in that regard, they are very.
Yeah,
They
I
want to
would
be
say always
helpful.
ask 2, 3, maybe even 4
That's
people
right.
for directions.
But don't confuse them being very social, very friendly with being honest, because not everybody, but a lot of people are going to try to take advantage of you because you look white. No, you are white, girlfriend, and you got money. So they're going to take advantage of you. Not everybody. There are some very nice people. I got some great Tico friends, okay? But unfortunately, a lot of people are going to take advantage of you. So don't confuse them being so friendly, so wonderful, so helpful, that they're so helpful, they're going to sell you someone's property, they're going to sell you this, sell you that, rent you that, and
Yeah.
they're going to cheat you in
You
it.
can be taken advantage
That's
of.
right. So it's important.
People of opportunity. So
Yeah.
they
You
see
know,
an
it's kinda like,
opportunity.
I think Pam is agreeing with you. I was just going to say, it's not our Southern way, you know, waving along, how is your mama, but they are polite, right?
Yeah.
So, you know,
In fact, to say hi, they blow the horn, which drives me crazy because when I'm driving, well, I hardly ever drive, but even riding with you, when they blow the horn to say hi, and I'm used to, like, okay, somebody's blowing the horn. What's happening? Pay attention. We're about to,
it's
somebody's backing up, somebody's pulling out, whatever. But they blow the horn to say hi, and I always follow it with, "That's not necessary."
So, which brings up, when you decide to move to Costa Rica, it's extremely important to learn the culture. I mean,
Yeah.
if you can
And
learn the
some people
culture.
do wave, but I think that's because we wave at them. They wave back, and then a lot of Ticos have been to the United States, and they know
they've
that's
learned,
how
yeah.
we just say hi.
So, we love Costa Rica, okay? I hate going to town. Every time before I go to town, man, I'm seriously praying, okay? Help me, Papa. Help me not to get angry. Help me not to get aggravated. Help me, help me, help me, help me, help me. But, I love where I live at. I love nature. There's so much, and it all goes to focusing on the positive.
Yeah. Oh, another thing I thought of when they say hi, they when they pass a friend of theirs, they say whoop.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Whoop.
And then so one time I said it back because somebody said it to me. I said whoop, and you let me know it's a man thing. The women don't. The women don't
go
say.
So it's really all about learning the customs and the culture of Costa Rica. You got to learn the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we. It's kind of like I was telling Karen, stay out of them Facebook groups. They got nothing good to say. But it is important. I'm glad you brought up, okay? While there are channels, I'm not saying don't go watch other channels, okay? There are channels that are trying to sell you Costa Rica. They're trying to tell you, some channels say, yeah, I tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah, the ugly is I got to spend 2 hours in the bank, okay? Well, they're not giving you the whole truth. But it's important that you watch other channels to hear their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a certain amount of truth on everybody's YouTube channel. It's very, very important. And that's why whenever I do relocation retreats, I get more than just me and Rebecca, because I think it's, and that's why I had other YouTubers at my relocation retreat, so that you can hear their perspective. By having their perspective, you can, if you only watched my channel and you only heard my perspective or our perspective, that would not be right. You'd only be experiencing what I experience. It's really, really important. Watch as many channels as you can. Some of them it's just a waste of time, but you can discover whether they're trying to sell you Costa Rica or not. But it's important to learn and watch other channels so that you can learn from their perspective. This person says this. Alan says that, Rebecca says this, that person says. You need to watch other channels just to get a different perspective.
Yeah, I believe that somebody who has come here and tried to build a house probably has a different perspective from someone who just comes and buys a house that's already built and has plenty of money. Someone who is on a fixed income will have a different perspective from somebody who is not having to live on a budget. All those things differ greatly.
Well, one one reason I think some people that we haven't talked about that people would come to Costa Rica and may want to come to Costa Rica is kind of what Eduardo hit on here. He says, one reason it's beautiful. It's a beautiful country. Another reason is that the open farmers market. You have a lot of farmers market where you go to these farmers markets, you can get fresh fruit and vegetables, and you get it way, 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 way cheaper than you can in the United States. And so you really have this humongous abundance of fresh produce in Costa Rica. Not to mention that, hey, look, if you got a piece of property, it doesn't take hardly any kind of property to grow your own vegetables and stuff.
Well, I can remember being in the U.S. and just wanting a tomato that would taste like
a tomato
from when I was younger. The food tasted different. The cucumbers tasted like cucumbers. All of a sudden, it's like
they all have this bland water taste.
You could not find
now
a tomato that tastes.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that there aren't some farmers that are using a lot of chemicals and using, maybe stuff that you wouldn't use. And there's no way to know that. Yeah, in Costa Rica, there's no way to know that. I mean, it's like, I got a guy that lives down the street, and I would never eat any of his tomatoes and bell peppers or anything he grows. And he grows on a huge scale to sell to a lot of the small stores and stuff. But I know the kind of stuff he puts on his stuff because I see it all the time. I mean, twice a week he's spraying all kind of chemicals on his stuff.
Well, and he's using the the genetically modified GMO?
He's using genetically modified plants because it grows fast. It's more resistant. I would never eat his stuff. So, yeah, you can go to the farmer's market and get some of that stuff, and you'd never know that it's that kind of stuff. So the best thing to do is, hey, grow your own. But, hey, you can still get some good.
Or get to know at the farmer's market. Every little community has a farmer's market.
Yeah. So, I do agree, Jan, that is terrible. And that's the reason we try to encourage people to watch your channel, because we are going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. When I found out that my neighbor was growing stuff that was genetically modified, I was like, man, but you have to understand, they're concerned about one thing and one thing only. That's how much money he's going to make. And if he can use genetically modified stuff, he's going to make way more money. And he ends up letting a lot of stuff rot on the vine. And I am amazed at how long a tomato will sit on that vine. The whole plant is brown and there's still a red tomato there. And I'm like, how come the cows and the bugs haven't eaten that thing yet? If the bugs don't want it, I don't want it.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
So, it's definitely is. Well, I agree. Jan says that's because it's poison. Well, I agree with you, but hey, for the most part, you got to learn the hacks of Costa Rica. Absolutely love living in Costa Rica. There's a lot of great reasons to live in Costa Rica. And if you can focus on the positives, I can guarantee you are going to enjoy Costa Rica.
Some kind of way I thought we were talking about the beautiful things of Costa Rica, like the hummingbirds and the butterflies. No, that's a different.
Well, I guess that would be part of it. There's a lot of beautiful things in Costa Rica, like hummingbirds, like all kind of things. Sloths. That's
toucans,
like me.
Monkeys.
Toucans, monkeys. That's like monkeys like me. But there's lots of beautiful things in Costa Rica that you can truly, truly enjoy. So, hey, we're already almost on an hour. And
were you going to mention that guy's video?
You know what? It's way too late. I'm going to save it for another time. So, hey, absolutely appreciate all of you joining us live here for the Unbridled Living in Costa Rica podcast. If you have any questions that I haven't addressed yet, and you'd really would like to get an answer to that question, be sure to type it again in the chat box, because there's lots of comments. And, I always like to say you really can support us in a great, great way by, after this live is over, well, make sure to comment underneath the video. Go in there and comment. And I know YouTube is kind of changing some of its algorithms and changing the layout, and now the comments not underneath. Now it's off on the right-hand side, and it's a little difficult to find. But really, 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 it would help us greatly if you comment, if you chat, if you like, hit that thumbs up button. if you subscribe, if you share the video, and that way more people will get the good, the bad, and the ugly about about living in Costa Rica. And hey, coming to Costa Rica, absolutely, you're going to make a lot of new friends, a whole lot of new adventures, and you're going to have memories that are going to last a lifetime. Okay, so hey, look, Doug says, we have a group of us that go side by siding. So if you don't know what a side by side is, it's these great ATVs, all-terrain vehicles, and they're all over the place, really nice, and they go out and check out waterfalls. And so if you're in that area, and there's a lot of places in Costa Rica. It's really, if you got the money to get you a side by side, it's well worth it, because there's a lot of places in Costa Rica, beautiful stuff that nobody goes to because nobody even knows it's there. I mean, I used to run all over Costa Rica, and I'd find waterfalls that I'd come back to town and I'd ask a local, and he's like, "What waterfall?" Ticos don't hardly leave their home, and they don't even know there's a waterfall 5 minutes from their house. So hey, we greatly appreciate you. And like Pam says, hey, y'all have a wonderful week. I hope you guys will show up next week. But it looks like Pam's not going to make it because she's going to be on a plane to get her grandson. So, folks, we greatly, greatly appreciate all of you. We hope we see you next Sunday. And we're going to be somewhere maybe a little different. I'll let you hang on that. Talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. And until next time, thanks for joining us on the Unbridled Living in Costa Rica podcast.
Ciao.